Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Blind Gooner. And as you can see, got a very special guest with us today. How you doing, Kevin?
Happy New Year to everybody. Happy New Year to you, Dan. And I am happier, yes, that Arsenal have won 2 games on the bounce. And I'm looking forward to the show, I must say.
Yeah. Listen, listen. I remember last time you come on, and it was a little bit doom and gloom, wasn't it? You know, we weren't doing too good. We weren't. We couldn't even string a win together, and you've come on, and we've got, we've got 2 wins on the bounce. So,
yeah,
hopefully we can have a better.
If you remember the last time, there was a lot of heat going on here. You remember? There was a lot of battling, a lot of debate going on, but it's a lot better to come on with 2 wins under our belt now.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely, and let's start with those 2 wins, Kev. Let's start with those 2 wins. What do you think changed? Do you think it's a matter of Arteta picking different personnel, or?
Well, look, let's be honest. Mikel Arteta has changed players, but it's the balance of the players that was the difference. I think the key was Martinelli, Smith Rowe, and Saka playing behind Lacazette was excellent in the first game against Chelsea. They brought an energy to the team which was much needed, because it wasn't a team that we didn't sit back. We went for them, and I think that shocked Chelsea. Martinelli, there's a closing down sequence where he's gone from fullback to centre half to goalkeeper, and Chelsea just didn't expect it, and he'd done it at pace.
Yeah.
And I think Smith Rowe unsettled Kante, unsettled the middle of the pitch. He was quality. And I think Saka was quality as well. And the experience of Lacazette to link play with these players made a massive difference. And then everybody else starts playing well. Xhaka plays well. Xhaka scores a fantastic free kick. El Neni plays well. The back 4 play well. The goalkeeper plays well and saves a penalty. And it's all because of them youngsters, Dan. It's because of the young players. The young players put that work in with quality, and it lifted the senior players. I've got to say it. It's true.
Yeah, I mean, I thought we looked a lot better with Smith Rowe in the team. And Saka, I think having Smith Rowe around him as well, he's improved. Listen, he's done really well, Saka as well. Martinelli was a big plus. Listen, since he's come back, I think he's done really well. He's kind of picked up from where he left off before he got his injury, which is good to see. Which is you always worry about players coming back from an injury, how they're going to come back, but he seems to have just hit the ground running.
Well, I think the Chelsea game, Dan, we saw Martinelli sharp, everything, but he's been out a long time, and we saw a little bit of a dip. If we're honest, we saw a little bit of a dip against Brighton. Although he worked incredibly hard, we saw a little bit of dip in performance, and maybe that's because Aubameyang kind of drifted to his side, and he's not as experienced yet to understand how to combat a player moving out of where he's got to go, etc. But it's these 3 youngsters have lifted the football club, and I've got to say, and I know we're probably going to cover it later on. I just think they've been a breath of fresh air to the team.
Yeah, definitely. And like and this is like I also said as well after the Chelsea game, because that was a fantastic win. Listen, I couldn't predict a win. I predicted we'd probably lose heavily, and then when they showed up, the performance came out of left field, really, didn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's completely unexpected.
Well, Dan, Dan, our problem has been when we think we're going to turn up, we never turn up.
Yeah.
So it's well within your rights to think, you know what, I can't see it. I said I went into it with my heart and said, I want Arsenal to win. Of course I do. I said, but my head is saying, we're not going to turn up. But we did. And it was through the youth, when usually it's the other way round. It's the experienced players that help the youth. Now the youth are helping the experienced players. And that is so special. It's a special thing to have. You can't sustain it usually. That's the truth. You can't, because the experienced players have to turn up. But boy, Dan, we needed these 2 wins, mate. We really did.
And the thing is, what I'm seeing from the youth as well, which we've not seen from the experienced players, is energy. The energy from Saka, the energy from Martinelli, the energy from Smith Rowe. And that, I think that you could just see it makes a massive difference.
Dan, listen, it keeps the defenders honest, and they're used to people sitting off them, Chelsea. But there was no rest. There was no rest for them. I'm telling you,
definitely not.
Them kids had so much energy. They were fantastic. And you know what, Dan, I've got to say this. They put a lot of the experienced players to shame. They did. They put the experienced players to shame, because they're not experienced like the experienced players, but just with sheer heart and determination and will, mixed in with quality, they dismantled Chelsea. And Chelsea, if we're honest, Chelsea weren't even really in the game until the last 20 minutes.
Yeah. And and this is why I said, after the Chelsea game, Kev.
Yeah.
After the Chelsea game, I said to, everybody in the chat, big up everybody in the chat room as well. I can see you all there. I said that we can't get too carried away. And I kind of expected the performance we put against Brighton. I kind of expected that, with the first half not so good, and the second half, kind of much better. Because I said after the Brighton game, I said, listen, these players, this team has been shot to pieces confidence-wise over the last month or so. There's not going to be a flick of a switch where, we beat Chelsea, everything's rosy again. There's going to be dips in form and dips in, confidence during games. We're going to see more games like we saw against Brighton, where the first half maybe not so good, the second half, or vice versa. And we've just got to be a little bit patient with that, haven't we? We've got to be, they're not going to get back into form straight away.
Dan, that's been Arsenal's issue. Arsenal's issue has been performances and not being able to put consistent performances in. Because they could look good for 10 or 15 minutes, but the consistency of the team is all over the place. Now, beating Chelsea was great. Brighton was always going to be a harder game, always, just because of where we are in the league and where they are in the league. Okay, so we get there. I thought we started the game pretty well. I was pitchside. I'd done pitchside for Amazon, and I was watching the game. Obviously, watching it very closely. First 10 minutes was fine, and then Basuma and Brighton got a grip of the game. And we started dropping deeper, and we started to create all our own problems. Thankfully, we got to half-time at 0-0 because they had some good chances. And Leno kept us in it with some good defending. Got to say, Mari and the defence there, I thought they done pretty well, considering. And we get to halftime, and after we get to halftime, and I actually asked Arteta after the game, what did he say to them? Because they came out with a purpose, they came out with a focus. It was a different team, Dan. Second half, they were playing forward, they were playing through Brighton.
Yeah.
Brighton didn't know what. I could see the Brighton players looking over at the manager, thinking, what do we do? Because Arsenal were coming at them from everywhere. Tierney was getting down the wing. Bellerin was getting down the wing at times. And we were all over them. But the difficult part is you've got to put one of the chances away. And, he took Martinelli off and brought Lacazette on. And Lacazette comes on and the confidence is there, which is great. Saka, the jewel in the crown at the moment, he's the difference maker. That's what he is, Dan. He's a difference maker. Sets up Lacazette. Lacazette finishes it beautifully. And we come away with a 1-0 win, Dan. Listen, we get a clean sheet. We fancy our chances. And, the defense done well. The midfield done okay as well. So if you said to me you would beat Chelsea and beat Brighton 1-0, I'd take that because Brighton have been a bogey side of ours.
Yeah, Brighton that they have. And, they've got some good players, Brighton, They've got some, that Basuma looks really good. Really talented player.
I'd like to see him in a red shirt of Arsenal, mate.
And then obviously he wasn't playing as well, but they got Lamptey. Really like that guy, Lamptey. I think his energy. I'd love to see him in an Arsenal shirt as well. But
we've got to go and raid him, I think.
Yeah. There's some good players in there. But it's fun. It's funny as well because when they took Martinelli off, I was going absolutely mad. I was like, "You're taking Martinelli off." And then as I was in mid-rant and Lacazette scores as soon as he's coming on.
Just to shut you up, Dan, yeah?
Yeah. Just it literally fully did come on and it did shut me up as well. I was in mid-rant and everybody in here on the chat room was going, was going, "Oh, he's taking Martinelli off and he scores." And I couldn't say nothing. I was absolutely gobsmacked.
I call you Zippy now. Zippy,
yeah.
Dan.
Yeah, that will teach me. I was like, oh my God, I should
no, but you know what, Dan?
Be a little bit patient.
But you know what, Dan? It's good when that happens because everyone's got an opinion, and your opinion was keep Martinelli on. But I thought Martinelli would start on the bench, to be honest, because that was his third game, and he's been out a long time, Dan. And his level just dropped a little bit. You could see he didn't have quite have the zip in his legs. But he'll be ready to go tomorrow. That's for sure.
Do you think we'll beat them? Do you honestly think?
West Bromwich Albion.
Yeah.
I think we. Of course we can, but I think we have to. After the confidence is starting to come back a little bit. Their confidence will be shot after what happened to them against Leeds. They're at home. They're the one who has to open up and attack. And I just think Sam's got to move and shake in the transfer window.
Yeah,
so
have we. So have we.
No, of course we do. Of course we do, 100%. But our mentality of club is different to what West Bromwich Albion are going through. Their mentality is they need to stay in the division. Our mentality is, what the hell are we doing down here? It's a big difference.
Yeah. And that's it. The thing that worries me about West Brom though, is that Sam Allardyce has got a good record against Arsenal down the years. He just seems to pull it out the bag, and he knows how to play against us. And that's one thing that I do worry for the game tomorrow.
Well, don't forget, Dan, Brighton had a sign over us for ages. The kids don't care. Yeah. The kids don't care. It don't make no difference to the kids. They want to get out there and they want to win. And that's what I love about them. All this, he's got this over us. Forget all that. Get the kids back in there, and let's get going, Arsenal, because we've had that many false starts, Dan. We need these points. We need these wins to rack up to give us a boost. And if obviously Mikel Arteta and Edu are going to go into the transfer market and bring new players in, we need to be in a better position and a better frame of mind as a football club to welcome new
Yeah.
players in. So we have to win this game. And I think we will.
Yeah. Yeah, remember, guys, keep firing the likes and do keep subscribing if you haven't done so already. Would really appreciate that. I want to ask you about Aubameyang because he is obviously his confidence is not there. He's a little bit out of form, and we saw that again against Brighton. You know, he had a couple of good chances, and an in-form Aubameyang would have put those away. Do you think maybe Arteta should have went with Lacazette over Aubameyang?
No, I think, Dan, Lacazette was carrying a little back issue, and they didn't want to risk him because there's that many games coming up. You don't really want to risk a lot of your players. So it was Aubameyang's opportunity to come in, and it didn't quite click for him. But you know what? I was there. I watched it live, right? And Aubameyang was making some super runs, but never got the ball. Now, there was one particular one with Granit Xhaka in the midfield where Aubameyang makes the run, and he needs Xhaka to play the ball early.
Yeah.
Xhaka saw the run. He didn't play and played safe. That's not how we get the best out of our best striker. And that happened 4 or 5 times. Now, Aubameyang is not Lacazette. He's not best with his back to goal. Lacazette's a much better player with his back to goal to knit the play together, to link these young players. But when Aubameyang's on the pitch, we got to use him to the best of his ability. And we don't seem to be doing that anymore. We seem to be playing too safe, and we can't do that. Second half, we played a little bit more to his strengths because we were playing through the lines and because we were releasing him down the left-hand side, and he had a couple of chances. But we need him to have a couple of chances in the first half and second half, and then I believe he would get back to scoring goals and being that main player. But if we don't give him the ball then, where he's most dangerous, we're crazy. What's the point? It makes no sense.
Yeah.
So I get your point. Listen, if you're playing Martinelli, Smith Rowe, and Saka, probably Lacazette is the best one to play with them because he can hold the ball up a lot better than Aubameyang. He likes doing that so they can come into the game. But when Aubameyang does play, we don't even give him the service. What's the point in having the best gun if we don't put the bullets in it?
Yeah.
You understand what I mean? So I know he's out of form. I know he looks out of sorts, but we don't even give him an opportunity most of the time now because we don't play quick enough.
Yeah. I mean, I just look on it and I think maybe playing Aubameyang all the time, he's not really going to get out of his comfort zone, and maybe getting dropped might put him back into form a little bit, you know, like...
Well, he's been dropped, Dan. Before the Brighton game, he was out for, 2 or 3 games, wasn't he? And he didn't come. Yeah, but he didn't come. My point is, he didn't come straight back in the team. Against Chelsea, he was on the bench. Do you know what I mean? So it's not just Arteta's not just pushing him straight back in. Obviously, the management of Lacazette, because of his back, that allows Aubameyang to play. But again, it's going to be interesting to see who Mikel Arteta picks against West Brom, because for us, it's a must-win game.
Yeah, it is. It's an absolute must-win game. You know, we need to get those 3 points, and you know, we're kind of in a situation now. Every game is a must-win game.
Well, let's take it one game. Let's take it one game at a time, Dan. The next one is West Bromwich Albion. We beat them, then we move on. Because you know what? We could look too far ahead, and some of the fan base probably done that earlier on in the season. We could be here, there, and it doesn't work like that, unfortunately. But now it's 2021. It's a new year. we know the slate isn't white clean, but we've got 2 back-to-back wins under our belt. Let's move on for the third, and let's go for the third. And if we get the third, which I hope we do, let's get the fourth, and then let's build from there. Because you know what, Dan, the league is crazy this season.
Yeah,
and any team that goes on a run can move up the leagues very quickly. So I'm hoping Arsenal could win a few more back-to-back and be up there where we should be.
and the next lot of games, we've got West Brom tomorrow. We've got Palace and Newcastle. They're all winnable games, aren't they? They are, without getting too carried away, we should be trying to aim for maximum points out of those games.
Dan, 100%, we should be, but again, let's take it one game at a time. We know with VAR and with some of these referee decisions, things could go against you sometimes. But as a team, we have to pick the right players to win these games, and they are winnable games for Arsenal. 100% they are. And realistically, we take one game at a time. But if we get 9 points out of 9, nobody will be moaning or complaining. That's for sure.
No, and that's it. Also, as well, the January transfer window is up on us. What do you think? What can you see happening in this window? What do you think? If you're in and around the club, do you get any whispers of anything, Kev?
Well, I think there has to be some smart moves with the squad, because there's a lot of players who aren't playing. Dan, let's be honest, they're not even involved, and these are experienced players. So if they're fit and they're not really involved, then we've got to look to try and move them on. I think Kolasinac has gone on loan back to Schalke, and it's a loan to the end of the season. Then I think his contract's up, so wish him well. But there's a lot more players who the club need to get off the wage bill, and then you might be able to move and shake and bring some people in. They may not be full, transfers at the minute or whatever, but they might be able to get some loan players in or whatever. We've been linked to probably about 10 players at the minute, haven't we? So some of them suit us, some of them don't. But I think Mikel Arteta wants a bit more quality in that squad. And but we got to box clever, Dan. We can't just go crazy out there and bring players in who don't fit who we are.
Yeah, I think we definitely need another creative midfielder, because we lack creativity. I mean, it's kind of made a little better with Smith Rowe being in there, but we definitely need somebody with a bit more quality. But we, like you said, we've got to be careful, because the transfers that he's made over the summer, listen, some have worked, some haven't. Gabriel and Partey, 2 quality signings. But then you look at the likes of Willian. It's not really worked out, has it? With and I actually thought Willian would be a decent signing for us, but
but Dan,
since that Fulham game, he's not.
Dan. Oh, whoa. Let me just say this. I spoke to Mikel Arteta after the game, and he said something to me that was so vital. He said, I asked him about the kids, and they must, make you feel great that they're getting the opportunity. And he said he was reluctant to put them in because they didn't have the right experienced players around them. He said now they've got the right experienced players around them, and the time was right. That's why he puts them in, because he said he didn't have to put them in. He could have picked other players. But because now they've got the right experience, and the fact of the matter is, you are 100% right. It hasn't worked out for Willian just yet. David Luiz has come in. He's probably one of the biggest leaders we've got, and he's hit and miss at times. But one thing nobody could question is, have they won? Yes. Have they won all the things, and have they played in the highest level of games? Yes, they have. Now, we need that to rub off on some of these youngsters. We need the way they prepare, etc. Because you know what? When they weren't there, some of these kids were getting sparing minutes and they weren't really shining. Now we see them, they're coming and they're shining. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes. I'm sure, obviously, a lot of us ain't party to what's going on.
Yeah.
But Pablo Mari was another one. He was injured. He was signed in the summer. He's come in, beat Chelsea and beat Brighton. I thought he's done really well, considering he's been out a long time as well, Dan. So, some are going to work and some aren't going to work, but it's a long season. And these youngsters need help. And sometimes it's the help that they get off the pitch that really gets them ready for their performing on the pitch. And I think these guys are helping them off the pitch. I really do.
Yeah. Remember, guys, keep smashing the like button. Kev, what do you think should be Arsenal's priority in your opinion? What do you think this? Because I've seen a lot of people in the chat are saying we need to get players out is the main priority for this window. But what do you think our priority should be?
Well, it's got to be both, players in and out, because if you're going to be getting rid of players, and maybe there's a couple out there who you want to have a look at and you could get them, why not? But definitely getting players out is listen, that was a problem for us in the summer, getting players out. Now, if you don't get the players out with this FFP, financial fair play, you're not going to be able to balance anything, because you can't keep bringing people in because your FFP situation goes lopsided. So they've got to get people out and they've got to bring some quality in if they can. But, I agree with the people in the chat mostly. We need to get people out of the football club, Dan, if I'm honest with you, because there's a lot of players pulling in good money who ain't playing. So we need to get them out.
Yeah, like Mesut Ozil.
Well, there's a 6 or 7 players, aren't there? Who ain't doing anything, who ain't helping the cause. So if we can get them out and then get other players in, great.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely need. We definitely need to. We definitely need to get players out, and we definitely need to. To strengthen that midfield. Who would you look to get out?
Oh, this is the usual suspects, isn't it? You've mentioned one. I've mentioned Kolasinac is gone on loan. You look at Socrates. He's not really playing. Chambers ain't playing. I'm not sure if he's fit again yet or whatever. That's 4 or 5 right there who are pulling in good money. Mustafi's there, who really he's got no future at the club because his contract runs out in the summer. That's another one who you really got to look to be a big earner who you got to get off the books. So just by them 5-6 players alone, create a whole heap of salary space to bring in other players into the building. You might get 6 out and you might get two in, but that streamlines the squad a little bit and it gives the young players a lot more game time.
Yeah. What about what do you think we should do with Pepe? Do you think he's had long enough now to settle in? Do you think what? Because I look at Pepe and he's kind of, if we're being brutally honest, it's not really worked out, has it? It's not really. He's done it in
fits and starts, but I always say this: Arteta has to be ruthless, and nobody's safe. Nobody, and I mean that. So if Mikel Arteta wants to sell him, he should. If he wants to keep him and work with him and develop him, then that's fine. But you know what? We've got a young lad at 19 who can play left side, he can play right side and be just as effective. So if Pepe don't pull his finger out, he's not going to play, is he?
No.
and that's the bottom line. That's what happens at Arsenal. You know, there's quality players all over the place, and these youngsters are blazing a trail.
Yeah. I mean, I find it now a little bit hard to keep defending Pepe. You know, I said that, you know, he needed a consistent run. He kind of got his opportunity and blew it with getting himself sent off.
That's right.
So it's kind of hard to keep, you know, making a case for him. And, you know, because he was such a high price tag, I think, you know, he's not really lived up to that, has he? He's not really.
Yeah, but the price tag's just the price tag. The key is, Dan, is he performing? That's the key, isn't it? So whether the price tag is 5 million or 75 million, it's all about performance. And he hasn't been consistent. He's been hit and miss. We've seen some unbelievable things from him. Yes, we have. And he really showed up in the FA Cup run at the back end of last season. But that consistency that we need, we've only seen in flashes. We've seen him flash against Sheffield United at home where he scored that great goal with the 1-2 and then got in behind and cut inside the box. Very direct. We need more of that from him. But, you know, it's either it's in him, that killer instinct, or it's not. And if he's not got it, then Saka's going to take that spot. Or we need another one to take it, because we can't afford to really wait for Pepe too much longer.
No, we can't. You know, in hindsight, we probably should have went for Zaha instead of Pepe. You know, who was more suited to the Premier League. He's been and done it, you know, at Crystal Palace, and yeah, I kind of look at Pepe and think maybe we went for the wrong option. And I suppose again that comes down to the recruitment team picking the wrong players.
Well, you know, there's been internal strife at the club because of that transfer as well. Let's be honest. You know, Sanelli's gone because of it. When they started to investigate, all of a sudden he's left the building. So obviously something ain't right. But Mikel Arteta still needs to be ruthless, regardless of who's in the building, because he needs to make this team and this squad his. And the only way he's going to do that is by turning over players or developing certain players. And the youngsters seem to be developing very nicely. But some of the other players who have come in are not so consistent and are only showing in flashes. So we need more consistency, Dan. And if they're not going to be consistent, you know, they're going to be out. That's for sure.
Yeah. What about, I want to ask you about, you know, we've been linked to Diego Costa and Isco. What do you make of those links?
Don't even bother. Don't bother. Diego Costa is a shell of his former self, and Isco he's a good technical player, but he's not what we need. We need speed and we need quality to be able to beat people in midfield and commit defenders so he could slip balls past. He's not that type of player. If the team's playing well, Isco plays well, but he's not that type of player who can get the game by the scruff of the neck and control it. He's not that type of player. So I wouldn't have any of them, to be honest.
Yeah. Who would you get in? Who would be your ideal?
Basuma. I'd get Basuma from Brighton. 100%. I think Thomas Partey, who's near to being back in full training, he needs a midfield partner. He needs a midfield partner, one who can play, but two, who could put his foot in And the most important thing, he's got energy to get about the pitch and get re-establish that dominance in the midfield. And we don't have it. And then he's okay for time. Xhaka is, I still don't know what he's best at. But we know Thomas Partey can do it all. We need another one in there with an engine who can play, who could sit there when Thomas Partey goes forward, because he's a lot better going forward than we thought, Dan. That's for sure.
Yes. Yeah. Thomas Partey is not just a good defensive midfielder. He's a good ball carrier.
Yeah, he's a box-to-box player. And
that's what I like about him. If he had, I'd like to see him with link up with Smith Rowe. I think that could be really exciting. And I'd like to see, obviously, when Thomas Partey's fit, I'd like to see him link up with Smith Rowe, link up with Saka, because the way we've got the team set up now is, I think we should just kind of stick with that team unless we get any injuries or something.
Yeah, but what you got to remember is as well, Dan, there's a lot of games, so
yeah,
you can't just keep playing the kids, unfortunately, because you've got to manage them because they're not used to it. So Martinelli, for instance, again, against Brighton, we saw a little dip in his form, a little dip in his energy, but we need him at full energy, because when he's at full energy, he'll give any defense problems. So now he's fully rested. I expect him to play against West Bromwich Albion. And, it'd be great if he could get a goal, because that will give him a big lift. But you're right. Thomas Partey playing with these youngsters who have plenty of energy will make his life a lot easier.
Yeah, definitely. I really do think, it's kind of been a bit of a shame, actually, because Thomas Partey, he's been sort of injured, maybe rushed back too soon for the Spurs game. I said, that it was that for me was kind of a little bit of a strange situation. He went from, oh, he's going to be out for months, and then he's in the starting lineup. What's your take on that, Kev?
Yeah, my take was, listen, Mikel Arteta don't say to Thomas Partey, you're fit, you're playing. Thomas Partey's got to turn around to Mikel Arteta and say, I'm ready. I'm ready to go. So I understand what it is. And players want to play. He wants to play, especially against Spurs. He definitely wants to play. And the way he was performing, let's be honest, he was performing until obviously he pulled up. So, and it's not the same injury, it's a different injury, and that can happen. So again, I just see it as it was a chance. Sometimes you have to take a risk. It didn't quite work out. And now they can make sure he's fully fit and ready to go. So it was a risk, but we weren't playing well at the time anyway, were we, Dan? So
no, we weren't.
Unfortunately, it was for me, it was worth the risk having Partey there. It was, but not having him there for all this time, it makes the other players who you expect to step up, and you see them not step up, and you think to yourself, well, we haven't really got a midfield. If we're honest, we haven't. We've got players who play in there who do okay, but if we had a midfield, fully functioning midfield, we'd blow a lot of these teams away. But we haven't. We're playing in midfield, for me, at 50%.
Yeah. I've got a comment here from Keith Samuels. He said, I think we should play the youngsters in the league and play the underperforming experienced players in the cup.
Yeah, well, you know what? That's not a bad shout. But again, obviously the Christmas and New Year time, there's a lot of games. And you saw sometimes the youngsters' form could dip a little bit. So as a manager, you have to manage that. You know, you have to, because it's about results at the end of the day, Dan. You know, people saying that, I remember coming on here before and people saying that, you know, the team ain't playing for the manager, he's lost the dressing room, etc. Now that isn't quite the case. Now we got to play the kids and play the experienced players in the cups. Well, I think the manager has to do what he feels right. That's what he's got to do. And I think he's doing a pretty good job right now, but we need more of it because we're still languishing in the league. We need a few more wins to obviously get us up the league, and then we can go and probably, hopefully, by the end of January, add to this team and make it a lot more dynamic. I think that's really important.
Yeah. I've just seen a comment here, and I was going to ask you about it as well. Do you think, do you think we need to get in another goalkeeper? Because obviously Runarsson, if Leno gets injured, Runarsson is not really Arsenal quality, is he? Let's be honest.
No, look, he had a bad game. He had a bad game. It was, in fact, it wasn't bad. It was terrible. Let's be honest. It was terrible. But it happens. It does. Listen, we've seen keepers before at our place have terrible games. Let's be honest, and make the first team and do okay. So again, they've brought him in for a reason. The fact of the matter is, guys, and everybody in the chat, this is Arsenal right now. You know, you're not going to go out and get anybody of note because anybody of note's going to want to start. That's why we ended up losing Martinez, because he wanted to be the number one. Yeah. So it's a difficult one. Could he go out and get somebody? Yes, of course he could. But, you know, it won't bode well if they go out and get a number two for Runarsson. It won't bode well. He's only just come to the club.
Yeah.
And I know it's difficult for Arsenal fans to look at and think, God, if something bad happens to Leno, but he's got the faith of the management, unfortunately, or fortunately, for whatever, for some Arsenal fans, it's unfortunate, but he had a bad day at the office. It does happen.
I'll rattle through a couple of these comments. Melina says, how long would you give Arteta?
I'll give him another 3-4 transfer windows, because it's still not his squad. It's still not his team. He needs to move and shake. So this is his second window as of note. He had summer. He's got this window. But realistically, the January windows kind of make one window. 2 January windows kind of make one-ish. So I'll give him 2 summers and 2 Januaries. And then we'll see. So it's probably 18 months. See where we're at. That's what I'd do.
Yeah. Bargav says, if we're playing 4-3-3, would it be best to pair Partey and Xhaka with somebody who can dribble the ball like a Pogba, who can make those killer passes?
With Pogba?
Yeah, that's what he's making.
But look, let's not even mention that, because obviously he's not at our football club. I think the key to it is Partey's proved he can play with El Neni, he can play with Ceballos, he can play with Xhaka. The problem we had was the energy at the top end of the pitch and the cohesiveness. We were saying there's no creativity, there's none of this. But now we do have creativity at the top end of the pitch. We have running power with Martinelli, Saka, and Smith Rowe. Lacazette is the hold-up man. Or if he's not playing, we've got Aubameyang, who has running power too. But what we need is quality to feed them. With quality to get the ball into these players where they can do their stuff. And that has been our problem all along. Our midfield isn't good enough, and we haven't been getting good ball to our most dangerous players. So we've been relying on a 19-year-old to pull us out the fire. But now we've got a couple of 19-year-olds in Smith Rowe and Saka. Martinelli's in there 19, or I think Smith Rowe's 19, 20. These youngsters are fearless. They really are fearless. And they're going to make Lacazette look good because they've got the energy to run around him and run off him, etc. So, again, I think that centre midfield spot is the key for our football club. I really do. And we need to address it.
Anish says, why aren't we playing Saliba? Why isn't Arteta playing Saliba? He doesn't understand the logic behind not playing him.
I don't know either, if I'm honest, Dan. Because I'm seeing Mustafi on the bench coming on. I'm seeing Mustafi with the captain's armband. We know what he can do. He's leaving the club either in this window or in the summer. Why not get a look at Saliba? Why not put him in there? Why not put him on the bench so we can have a look at him? I'm baffled, honestly. I'm baffled to why he's not getting in. But obviously the manager wants him out on loan. He wants to see him out on loan. He wants to see how he handles English football, etc. So maybe he just doesn't want him learning in Arsenal's first team. That's the only thing I could think of.
Yeah. Do you think it's just a simple case that Arteta doesn't rate him?
No, I don't. I don't think it's that. I think if it was Arteta didn't rate him, he'd want to sell him. He wouldn't want to loan him out. But again, does he trust him? It's all about trust. If a manager's going to pick you, he's got to be able to trust you. And maybe, remember, we don't really get to see Saliba unless you watch the reserve, the 23s. Obviously, Mikel Arteta sees him every day in training and, sees how he's developing, etc. He might be a little bit raw. So he needs the rough edges polished and sanded down a bit before he gets him smooth and gives him a smooth transition to Arsenal's first team. And that's not a bad thing. That's what maybe a manager has to do.
Yeah. The thing is, though, with the trust thing, do you reckon Arteta's putting his trust in the wrong players? Because he's up until quite recently, he was playing, guys like Willian and David Luiz, not really performing that great, not really justifying getting into the squad. But yeah, a guy like Saliba, who, you can coach young players. I've said it for time that you can't coach players like Willian and David Luiz. Their careers pretty much coming to an end. You can't really coach them. But guys like William Saliba, you can coach to how you want them to play.
Dan, I disagree. I disagree with you. Listen, one thing I know is the experience of these guys plays a big part. That's why Mikel Arteta brought them in, as far as I'm concerned. He brought them in because you need people who have seen it and done it to help these kids. And when the first thing he mentioned in his first press conference was about the culture. Obviously, the culture haven't been doing that good for Arsenal because we've got a talented group of young kids who are coming through, but that culture in the dressing room hasn't really developed them to the standard that they are now. So over the last 7 months, 8 months or whatever, you've seen these players come on. And who's been at the club? David Luiz has been at the club. He was immense in the FA Cup run. So when you say that he's not performing, I disagree with you. Where I agree, the William thing he hasn't performed. But Willian isn't that type of player, like I mentioned about Isco. He's not the type of player who's going to pull you out. He's going to get a grip of the game. He's a wide man. And when the team play well, you're going to find Willian plays well. But the team ain't playing well, you can't expect Willian to play well. You understand what I'm saying? So now we've got a bit of momentum. Now we've got these kids coming in, playing well against Chelsea, playing well second half against Brighton and getting the victory. Now we're trying to build a bit of momentum. I don't see Xhaka play well when the team plays poorly. I don't.
Yeah,
No, do you understand what I mean? And this is what fans have to see. The best teams have players who perform when the team ain't playing well. That's what gets them over the line. Arsenal have too many players. When the team play bad, they play bad. When the team play well, they play well. That's now starting to be addressed a little bit. But you need quality at the top end of the pitch, Dan. If you haven't got quality in the engine room and at the top end of the pitch, we're done for.
I agree. I agree with having quality, but my only issue with that is it's only quality if they're performing well. I mean, you look at us play against Everton. You look at us play against Everton. You look at Willian. Willian was. I've never seen a guy so disinterested.
Dan, you're not listening to what I'm saying. I'm saying when the team are playing well, they play well. When the team ain't performing, they don't perform. And that's what's been happening most of the season. So you can pull Willian out, but you could just as much pull most of the players out. Do you understand what I'm saying? Who haven't performed. Because it's not just Willian. Aubameyang hasn't performed like how he normally performs for whatever reason. There's times where Lacazette hasn't performed. There's times where Xhaka hasn't performed. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you can, Bellerin hasn't performed. So what we're going to do? So the key for Mikel Arteta is he has to try and find the right balance. And at the moment, he's got the right balance with these youngsters and experience. That's the key. And like I said earlier on, speaking to Mikel Arteta, he said trusting these kids was difficult because he needed the right experienced players around them. That was the key. Now he doesn't have any worries putting them in because he's got the right people behind them off the pitch.
Yeah, I just don't think it's as simple as when the team's performing, those players will perform, because the youngsters have come in and look, they've just hit the ground running.
But we perform. That's what I'm saying.
That's because those players are playing better, the youngsters. Willian's had chances after chances after chance.
Dan, hold on a minute. Me and you're going to debate again now. I said to you, first thing when I came on this pod, that the kids lifted the experienced players. Did I or did I not?
You did say that.
Right. So they got
they're better and they've got more better mentality.
Because they brought energy. When you bring an energy, that's a platform for everybody else to play well. And they're closing down. They're doing the dirty work that the others weren't doing previously, okay? Which is fantastic. But then you start seeing Xhaka coming out after beating Chelsea and talking about, there was a lot of flag flying about and he's back and he scored a goal and, it's proven that nonsense. Xhaka was nowhere. He weren't performing before them kids. He's got sent off against Burnley. So the youngsters have given the platform to the experienced players. But I will say it again, Dan, and listen, I will say this till I'm blue in the face. The more players we have who can turn it on when the team don't play well is when we're going to be in business. Because you know what? You look at any top team, there's times where they don't play well and they have players who can create, who can do something and get you a goal and get you a win. That's what gets you over the hump. Whereas we haven't been playing well and we don't have enough of those players.
Yeah, I just...
You don't agree? Just say it. You don't agree.
I don't agree. I don't...
Say it.
Do you know...
Listen, we'll battle. I say it.
Do you know what it is though? Like, I just think that the youngsters are performing better than the experience because they're not getting as many opportunities. So therefore, they're taking their opportunities. I just look at guys like Willian. They know that they're going to get in the team, whether they play well or not. They know they're just going to be consistently picked. And my worry is that when when Willian and that is able to play again, the youngsters are just going to be cast aside and they're going to be straight back in. And we're going to be back to square one.
We're going to see tomorrow. But I think you'd be mistaken. I think you'll be mistaken. Look, let's have it right here. Aubameyang could have played against Chelsea. Did he?
Sorry, say that again.
I said Aubameyang could have played against Chelsea. Did he?
No.
Right. It would have been easy to put him in. He didn't. That's the captain of the football club and your best striker. And Mikel Arteta chose to play Martinelli. That's it. That's it. Now the die is cast now. So we're going to see the big test is tomorrow for you, Daniel, for you and what you think. So Willian is fit. He can play tomorrow. And some of the others can play. And we're going to see if they get picked. If they don't get picked, I'm tweeting you.
Yeah. I don't know. I just can't see it. I just can't see how.
We'll see.
I just listen. I just knowing Arteta, I think he's just going to revert back to type.
Well, let's see.
Play these players. Honestly,
so if he doesn't, what then?
Well, hats off to him. He's learning from his mistakes.
No, he's not learning. No, you see, this is where we're going to have this debate again. He wasn't sure about the kids until that Chelsea game.
But he played them in the Europa, and he could see what they're doing in the Europa.
The Europa isn't the Premier League. It's not.
No, but
he had to be convinced. Dan, he had to be convinced that they were ready.
How can he be convinced if he's not playing them?
Dan, he trains them, doesn't he?
Yeah, but come on, playing on the training
no. You can't
playing a game.
You can't have it both ways. You can't have he picks them in the Europa and doesn't play them in the league, and then when he picks them in the league, it's because people were out injured, but they weren't. Aubameyang could have played. Aubameyang did not play. That is my argument. He's our best striker, and he did not play. It would have been easy for Arteta to play him, and he didn't play. So we are going to see tomorrow what Arteta does, and I can't wait. I'll tell you what, I'm going to be waiting for that team sheet to come out tomorrow.
Yeah, I know. I can imagine you there with the tweets, you know.
Yeah, man. I'm going to say, Dan, tell me.
Oh, who's going to be proved right?
We'll see.
I just know that he's going to revert back to type. I would even put a mortgage on it. Do you know what I mean? Because he's done that all season.
Well, we're going to see. We're going to see. We're going to see. We're going to see tomorrow. We haven't got long, Dan.
I know. So literally, we're what? It's tomorrow at 8 p.m.
What is it? 8 p.m. tomorrow. So we got what?
Yeah. They moved it. It was originally going to be 3 p.m., but they moved it to 8 p.m.
To 8 p.m. So we got over a day to go. Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, Kev, we're approaching the hour mark. So what we'll do is I'll probably bring the show to a close. Okay. But listen, I want to thank you for coming on. Listen, it's been great as always.
It's a pleasure, Dan. Always a pleasure to come on with you. And thanks everybody in the chat for the great questions. And keep liking it and subscribing. That's all I could say.
Yeah, please, everybody, do keep liking, do keep subscribing. Big up to all 33 people watching, which is fantastic. And the road to 2K starts here. So I've smashed 1,500. So yeah, the road to 2,000 starts here. But Listen, Kev, do you just want to let people know where they can find you? I'm sure people know by now, but do you just want to let people know?
At number one Kevin Campbell, yeah, at one Kevin Campbell on YouTube. You can find me on at Hybrid Squad on Twitter as well. Plenty of podcasts. We got a pod later on today at 7:30, and it should be a good one. So happy New Year to everybody, and come and join us wherever you find us.
Yeah, and you've got your own channel, haven't you, Kev? You've got.
Yeah, that's what I said. At one Kevin Campbell on YouTube, and I'm at one Kevin Campbell on Twitter and Insta. So yeah, easy to find me there.
Everybody, do go over and subscribe to Kev, and do check out the Hybrid Squad. But yeah, listen, Kev, thanks for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure. Listen, everybody in the chat, big up as always. You know, you guys are all legends. Without you guys, there would be no channel. So thank you for that. And yeah, listen, I'll be back tomorrow with the watch along. So look out for that. Until then, all have a wonderful New Year's Day. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care, guys.